And boom, I think we have gone live officially. It seems to also have registered on the YouTube side, which is wonderful. Hopefully the audio is okay. I am gonna make a quick squibble on the screen just to check if the video is okay as well, because I don't want to repeat the mistake I had last time with accidentally streaming a widescreen for like 20 minutes. Probably not a good idea. I can see it on the preview already. It's working, so that's fantastic. I'm gonna cause a bit of an echo to see if I can hear myself. See it on the preview already. It's okay. Sounds good. Excuse the echo for a split second. Seem to be good on that. Seem to be good on basically everything I had to do. Maybe aside from, actually drawing is probably something I should get on, and starting the timer as well. Okay, anyway, hello. Welcome to a drawing stream, one of those. Now, can't help but notice that my timer is not starting. There we go. Fantastic. We got the timer, and just like that, we should be good to go. So let's start doodling, and maybe if somebody shows up, we're gonna engage in a mild amount of chat engagement, which is using engaged twice in the same sentence, which is probably bad form, I'll be honest. Probably shouldn't do that, but you know what, who cares? Alright, so right off the bat, what am I gonna draw? Well, I wanted to get onto drawing something. That's gonna keep happening, isn't it? I wanted to get on drawing something lineless. So I know this is kind of stupid because I am gonna be starting with lines, but bear with me. The idea is to just make a sketch and then kind of fill that sketch out using just colors, don't do the good old line stuff. And because I am normally used to drawing very thick lines and using that to do stuff, and I think I've gotten decent at that, I am gonna be discarding that in favor of thin lines and then no lines. You know what is more exciting than doing something completely brand new? Well, I can actually my own body is screaming at me that I don't really believe that. Let's draw a guy with big eyes, shall we? Alright, look, this guy's gonna have big eyes. We're gonna give him some kind of head shape. So the main purpose for this is to practice rendering, because if you've been following the city streams, we have kind of gotten to a point where maybe it's going to be time to add some color to that, and then also shading and do all that cool stuff. And the problem with that is I have less practice with that than I have things like, lines and drawings like that. And so I figured this is the perfect opportunity. I have no co-host today because he probably died or something. He's not responding to my messages. So I thought, hey, I am going to use this opportunity to draw stuff, which is what I usually do. But this time, we're going to be drawing stuff different. How about we give this guy, like, weird hair like this? What do you think of this weird hairstyle I'm going with? Like, it's like he's got pieces of paper stuck to all over his head. Basically, we could pretend he doesn't have ears. I think that's fine. Many people are affected by eyelessness. Donate today using your favorite donation platform. Okay, is it good if I do his hair like this? Because I am feeling less like it's a good less and less like it's a good idea by the minute. So we're gonna cancel all of that in favor of maybe a bit more normal hairstyle, and also place it on another layer so I can delete it faster next time I mess it up, inevitably. That's an overused hairstyle, by which I mean, I use it in my character. So how about we do one of those with, like, I wanna give the hair a bit of an interesting form, so I can shade it later, right? That's the idea. This is definitely a Raymond looking hairstyle, kind of it. You know what? We are gonna bear with it, and hopefully it turns into something fantastic. Because when has that not happened with one of my drawings? Of course, not being self-congratulatory in the slightest, but I have never made a mistake in my life, obviously. Okay, let's pretend this is good, and move on to the body, and maybe this is gonna be a woman. And you know how you make a woman? You just add eyelashes to anything you've drawn. You just add eyelashes to it. Looks like a woman. It's a magic trick. Oh, like, look at this. Normal face, woman face. Isn't that crazy? Human pattern recognition has associated women with eyelashes. I think is the brunt of that. To use a word that I don't necessarily know the meaning of too precisely. Listen, I am no English scholar, and by no English scholar, I mean I know next to nothing about English besides how to speak it. Which I suppose is something, but, you know, you might find my vocabulary to be a tinge limited. Is this what I'm doing? Just like a standard little body? Like this? Maybe. We'll see. This makes no sense in terms of the head position, so maybe we should go for something a bit more interesting, shall we? How about we rotate all of that? We group it, we select the group, rotate it. And then continue from here. Can I ungroup? No. How do I ungroup? Do I have to quick ungroup? Control Alt G. Alright, I did not know that. That's alright. We learn something new every day. And because today falls under the label every day, we've learned something new today as well. How about something like this? No, that line is kind of scuffed. We could... This is horrible. This looks like a broken leg. Maybe something like this, and then have her kind of lean forward and maybe reach for something. Could be an idea. Yeah, could be an idea to do that. Maybe. No, kind of like this. Yeah, this isn't. This leg, just don't think about it too much, and it's gonna be good. We just have to completely draw it again. Maybe. Yeah, something like this. I think. I think this is. I think this is getting somewhere. Should I be like checking other things and places? Maybe. Perhaps. No. All right. Anyway. Yeah, maybe a pose like this would it be interesting to shade? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. The head is currently pretty darn massive for this body, even for a chibi style, so maybe we'll just... Not necessarily what I tried to do. I don't know if that shows in stream, but that... yeah, it does. That does not look the greatest, because it's not the right transform, and I didn't get it on the right layer. So yeah, something like this is a bit more reasonable for this body shape, I feel like. We're gonna do a sketch v2 and we're gonna iron out the details, certainly, but for now I think it's good enough. So from there the next stage would be we could merge all of these so we can work on them more easily. So all the layers are now one layer. Can, you know, assign the head shape. Maybe the other hand would be something like this. No, this doesn't look good. This is a weird pose. I've definitely made some kind of mistake here that is not yet obvious to me. So let's try and maybe flip it. Maybe that's going to be a bit more easily noticeable. I think this leg is actually too short because this would be more like that in this configuration. Her torso is like bent out of shape because of these lines. So it's like she's kind of trying to reach for something, but also has the other hand, the other arm kind of way back, which is, it's not very good, I don't think. I think I'll have to remove the head if I'd like to have this be better. Maybe, you know what, instead of removing the head entirely, I'm just gonna throw it on another layer. I know I just had it on another layer, but you know what? We don't take shortcuts here. We take the opposite of shortcuts. We take long, what would be the opposite of a cut? A long, I don't know. Point is, we take the longest possible route for the sake of it. Let's try something like this, maybe. I'm thinking maybe like that. And then we fix this leg so it actually functions properly, because currently it is nowhere near that. So maybe try and what would be the shape? Like, listen, do I look like I'm good at anatomy? Because if I do, that's I am giving off the wrong impression. All right. Well, anyway, this might be better than what I... Nope. No, it's not. No, it's not. I take it back. I see how thin this leg is, and I've decided I do not like it anymore. Therefore, I will change it. Okay. Something like this, maybe? This is like two legs from a different character. These two do not go together at all. Which I'm not sure why that is, actually. Why does it feel like that? Maybe because the proportions are off. Maybe something like this would be better. Just with the leg actually fixed. So it's more in this direction. Yeah, maybe actual, you know, foot on the leg would be a good addition. Humans usually have those, maybe even two of them, one on each leg. I know it's a very weird idea for humans to have all of that, but it seemed to do, so whatever. Head. Introduce a smaller head than that. Definitely. This is not a very big head. Neither is it very good, so you know what? Does this work? I feel like kinda. Noodle arms, no. I'm not doing noodle arms. This is a very stationary pose. I feel like I'm not convinced it's gonna be actually interesting to shade, because this almost feels like the character already has like crossed arms or something like that. Right? That's a very static stationary pose. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw all that we've done so far out and try again. what's an exciting pose for someone to be in, and that would make for interesting shading opportunities. Could be, you know, maybe kicking something, or maybe like jumping. Always this kind of shape is always something that comes to mind. Like, you know, you can do a lot with this if you decided to do noodle legs and arms and stuff. So maybe something like that. We could maybe try and have someone hanging over the edge of something, possibly. Have someone jumping over something. Like, that could also be an opportunity for something interesting. So how about we do... You know what? Let's try this. So here's a kind of road barrier. Right, now we're gonna make this a bit more interesting by adding perspective to it. So we're gonna have this side be closer to the viewer, and then have the other side be further away. And this way we can hopefully make the perspective a bit more exciting. I think it's one of... I don't think... Okay, if this is supposed to be concrete, it can't really have that hole, can it? So anyway, then you can have someone jumping over this this little barrier. So you would have something like this for the hand position. So it's like holding onto the thingy. And then this is already wrong in terms of how the elbow actually goes. Maybe a different pose. So like the one leg would be here. The other would be kind of over already. Something like this. Then, you know, the body would be horizontal, kind of curved that way. This would be the hand. So this would kind of be how this is going. Maybe. Perhaps. Who am I talking to? Fantastic question. I have about 7 listeners inside of my own head and 2 additional ones in my walls. Very exciting bunch. We talk a lot. Been having a great time. Honestly, lately. Especially commenting and drawing. You know. Always nice when you have someone to talk to, and the voices inside of my head are doing a fantastic job at keeping me company. I never get lonely. The demons, I feel you. Yeah, but a more honest answer to that question, which is, of course, the honest answer I've already given, but the more honest answer is that I just like talking. And so, you know what? If I'm gonna talk entirely to myself, I will do it. And streaming is a great opportunity to engage in talking to myself without being scrutinized by the rest of society. Because, of course, the rest of society, because we live in a society, society doesn't accept you talking to your walls or yourself. So, if you set up OBS and you talk into a microphone, and then it is streamed onto a website, that adds legitimacy to how you are talking to yourself. You're no longer seen as a weirdo if you talk to yourself while streaming. It's kind of a life hack, you could even say. Incredible. Humans are weird, is I think the biggest conclusion of that. Does this make any sense? I don't know. Well, I talk to my walls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You got a schedule for that. It's very nice. Talk to my pet rock on Mondays and Fridays. Oh, yeah. Sounds fairly reasonable. I'd like to say hi to your pet rock from me. I hope it's having a good time. What the hell is this head? I kind of like this. I think this leg is bad in some way. I'm not yet convinced. I'm not yet sure how exactly it is bad, but there's a problem with it. So I'm gonna fix it. Uh, nursed him 6 feet under for beating me in Uno. Buried him 6 feet under. No, dude. I was already getting excited. I was hoping I'm gonna meet that guy. You know, cool stuff. And then you just say you just buried him. Damn. The world is truly a dark place. Okay, this is maybe. Let's flip this. Let's see. How bad is it? Well, kinda. Is it very bad? I'm not sure. I think I can. I think I can turn this into something salvageable. Maybe with two things. First of all, let's upscale this guy a bunch, because his size in proportion to what he's jumping over makes no sense. And second of all, let's make him transparent, make this transparent, and try and make a sketch that is closer to what I'd actually like to have happen. So the goal with this is to turn it into a lineless kind of painting slash drawing. So that would require me to theoretically, well, it wouldn't require me, but I'm trying to make a sketch that I could later turn into. I could later basically paint instead of just. Because what I usually do, Nunu from Teletubbies debating on jumping off the table. Is it because like you see this as the like nozzle for vacuuming? Is that is that the idea? I'm trying to make this look like a dude. So pardon the early stages of the sketch, but I'm not used to this because what I've decided to do in my infinite foolishness is I've decided to wander off of my my comfort zone and show that to the entire world, and by entire world I mean you personally. So yeah, I'm gonna, as per usual, I'm gonna try to figure something out, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't work, I throw it all out and start over. It's usually how it goes anyway. Okay, well, something like this maybe could be what his position is. Good, because I like criticizing other people to make myself feel useful. Well, if you've got any fantastic criticism for this magnificent piece I have just conjured up, or rather am in the process of conjuring, you know, feel free to type them in the chat and I will take it to heart. Of course. I would never not take something to heart, especially when it's on the internet. You know, opinions on the internet are always the most useful things you could ever pay attention to in your entire life. I think, you know what, there's something wrong with this. You will take anything to heart? Well, with the mild exception of too much cholesterol, or however the hell you pronounce that, you know, I can take stuff to heart. Yeah, I'll, you know. By which I mean I'll completely dismiss it because everything I make is perfect and criticism is, you know, horrible and something like that. A knife. All right, we could give him a knife. That's fair. We could give him a knife. Which hand would he have a knife? He would have to have the knife in this hand, surely. Will I take that to the heart? Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll put a heart in the picture as well. That is entirely possible. Look, now this guy has a knife and he's jumping over an obstacle. Take the knife to my heart? Sure. I'll have a talk with my heart and we'll come to an agreement. I'm sure it's gonna fit it in its collection. You know, that's fine. I'm not trying to be mean. Well, maybe you should start. You know, there's not. I don't mind at all. Does this look like a guy jumping with a knife? Well, he wouldn't be holding it in this position, would he? Yeah, he wouldn't. Because if you jump over something, your hand is probably going to be flying, which means like in this direction, not downwards, is the point I'm trying to make. So let's erase all of that and do it again. He has a knife, make him chase something like the Twitter bird. I am in favor of someone doing knife to the Twitter bird. There is something horrendously wrong with this, and this is not helping. No, the idea is, the problem is the hand is completely in the wrong position for... No, the entire arm is in the wrong position to be holding the knife like that. Maybe I could have him hold the knife like this, and then attach it to his arm like that. No, that's not really very good. Maybe like that. Bro needs a professional plastic surgeon. I think this goes beyond plastic surgery. Like his entire body is contorted into a pretzel. I think plastic surgery might be, you know, undercutting what he needs to have done. So the problem with this is there's multiple problems with it, but you know, there's one definite problem with what I'm doing, and the problem with what I'm doing is I'm pretty bad at multitasking. And that comes up all the time when I try to talk and to do something at the same time. It always goes with a detriment to one or the other. I either start talking about absolute nonsense and then I don't even remember what I was talking about, or I start drawing absolute nonsense and probably don't remember what I was drawing. Focus on one thing, simple. No. This is outside of the comfort zone, so I'm gonna be doing both, and I'm gonna be great at both of them. Okay, give him a tracksuit maybe. Do I want to give him a tracksuit? Tracksuits are kind of boring. So, what would be a good alternative to a tracksuit? Could be wearing a hoodie, which is even more boring. But it is an option. Could be wearing a shirt. Listen, I'm not an expert on clothing. Definitely. So I'll try and come up with something. Bro's training to become a professional serial killer. Or me. Implying I'm not already that? What? Surely it wouldn't. Okay, this serves as something. Don't know what serves as, but is this good? I don't know. That's the problem. Probably needs a couple more iterations to actually start looking decent. This leg I think is too thick because the fairly intense perspective I'm taking means that's gonna... It should... Well, I can't make an explanation to that. I just feel like it. That is pretty much how I make decisions regarding stuff like this. This feels wrong, therefore I will change it. I believe there's something like intuition that maybe makes the decision under the hood. This leg doesn't look like it belongs to his body, so I think we have to remove it and try and maybe establish what this man's body actually looks like. if we discard thing. So let's try and build his body using a red outline. So he's got something like this going on, right? That's the idea for this leg. And then he probably has the second leg starting, you know, somewhere in the general vicinity of the first leg. Probably should have those somewhere nearby, I'd imagine. So to maintain a similar thickness, something like this would probably be done. If this is how his legs are, then this can't be how his legs are, because that would mean he's basically has his body is like a harmonica or something that's completely collapsed and he cannot breathe anymore, which is probably a detriment to living. I feel like that's probably not something you would want to do. You would want to stop doing, rather. Yeah, something like this, maybe. Except that's not the pose I was going for, because this is placing his leg basically on the barricade. And so it is not very acceptable. But maybe if we instead angle his leg in this direction and then make this shrink further, we could... no. Listen. This is what figuring stuff out looks like, and it's always like this, and unfortunately it consumes time, which truly is the most precious resource we have. And I'm spending it on what? I'm drawing sausages with balls? What a highly productive activity. Okay, I need more than one color on this. I have decided. I need at least two. To kinda actually tell what I'm trying to plan out. So this is like the lower part of his body, and this is like the higher part of his body. And what this has a problem in that, first of all, this needs to be like smaller. Maybe we could try and bring it to like 2 cylinders. So it's something like this, but this little thing here is kind of thin or short or whatever you want to call it. And the problem with that is it means he's gonna look like he's got his insides slightly squished, and by slightly I mean extremely squished to the point of probably pain. Maybe something like that, maybe, and then could have his body kind of adapt like that and then be expanded in here. Okay, so with this blue outline, we can get back to the red outline, remove that red outline and do it again. But this time, we are equipped with additional knowledge. So, could start by attaching the other leg, and then this arm. Something like this. Maybe. Ooh, I could swap his leg positions around. So this leg could be the one, could be his left leg, and then the other one could be his right leg. Look at that. That is actually more interesting, I think. We can have him be angry and look ahead. Yeah, I'm kind of following what this guy's doing. And then what happens? Yeah, it is my guy. I do not have any idea what you could possibly be responding to, I'll be honest. Now, that might mean you are behind in the stream, or that could mean I am terrible at keeping track of multiple contexts while I do things. Either way, I think I've spent the last however much time, just mumbling nonsense while I try and fix this guy's posture to something vaguely usable. But in my defense, I have no defense. So deal with that, huh? How are you gonna attack me? How are you gonna get past my defense if there's no defense? You cannot get past something that doesn't exist. Checkmate, atheists. Well, or something like that. Maybe? I feel like this is extending this like way too far. It should be like somewhat towards the camera, but then also not. His thigh should be towards the camera slightly, and then this should probably be something like that. I should have now it occurs to me that instead of just diving completely off of the deep end into something I'm not very experienced with, I maybe should have started with a sketch in a style that I am familiar with, and then from that extrapolated another sketch that would be, you know, that would be a more effective strategy. So I might take what I've done here and then apply that strat to it, because I think this guy is currently very weird state. Like, this doesn't look like the pose it was supposed to look at all. But we can maybe fix that. Okay, something like not like that. Something like this, anyway, is what this was supposed to look like. So maybe return to this idea, not briefly, but generally just return to this idea because it was better. I feel like I've gone in a massive circle essentially for this, where I started with one thing. Okay, no, I haven't. This is better than the previous version. It's not good yet, but we are slowly getting somewhere with it. Maybe let's try giving it the thick line treatment and seeing if I can maybe do that better. And then convert the thick lines to thin lines again. Hello. I'm not sure if I am gonna attempt to pronounce your name, because it is difficult to pronounce, and I have not pronounced the name of anyone else. So, hello. This is what I'm gonna say. Bro, looks like he's gonna punch the screen. Well, now the question is, do I want that to be that way? Maybe I do. I keep saying there's a problem with this, and I'm not yet sure what the problem is. I'm trying to maybe visualize what his body looks like in 3D. Maybe with boxes, because if there's one thing I've learned from the city drawing streams I did, I'm doing, is boxes usually solve most of 3D problems you're gonna have. A surprising number of those problems can be solved just by drawing boxes and then adding additional boxes on top of the previous boxes to construct, a whole thing. So is this something I'd like to see? And then, a box for his head. And then another box. You know what? I don't think this looks good. I don't think this looks good. Oh no. Gotta go, I'll be back soon. You know what? Feel free to pop back in. You don't have to. Have a nice whatever the hell you are gonna do. And when you return, this is surely going to be a full HD render that is entirely finished. Definitely. Surely there's no chance I'll be stuck on this sketch for 10 years. There's no way. I would never do that. Has that ever happened to me before? I actually don't think it has, so. Actually, no, it absolutely has. I've been stuck on sketches for hours. Okay, this is actually looking like a pose, I think. I don't know what exactly I changed about it, but I think it is... I think it looks like progress, honestly. Yeah, so something like that, and I think this looks like a pose that we could take to the next step, maybe. All right, I think the thick lines made me feel a bit more at home, and so I was able to kind of construct something that is a bit more closer out to what I actually want to accomplish. So with this, let's once again make it transparent, get rid of the previous layer, and let's try and make a sketch of this guy once again, but this time we have a slightly better reference to work with. So we're gonna attempt to make something of this, and we'll see how I do. I don't know yet. We'll find out. You know what? This is what learning is all about. You try new things, you find out if you failed, and if you did fail, you try and improve for next time. Yeah, let's make his hand super weird. Whatever. We'll fix it later. We'll fix it in post. We'll like put a sticker over it, something, you know, just a big sticker with like a smiley face on it, but it's gonna be filled with color so you can't actually see what I've done there. I think that's a good low budget solution to the problem at hand. Thoughts? Anyway, boop. Yeah, so this is the basic shape. This guy's got some thick legs. I'll be honest about that. Maybe want to slightly decrease the thickness of his legs, because I don't have to necessarily keep the entire outline of the original sketch. In fact, I probably don't want to keep the original. Ooh, this is okay. This is very good. Kind of stumbled on it by accident, but this is the head angle. This is a head angle that looks pretty darn good on this guy. At least, I think. Now, the problem with drawing feet is I have no idea how to do it. So have something approximating a rectangle, and we will get back to it later. Definitely. I would never abandon something like this. It's important. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna... This is... With this kind of thing is slightly turning into Scout from TF2. Not necessarily a bad thing, just not something I was going for initially. Maybe we'll turn it into Scout TF2, because he is a jumpy man that runs fast. So, you know, if in doubt, when in doubt, just, you know, draw Scout TF2. Worth noting on the possible things to do spreadsheet I've definitely got running. This is looking pretty alright, I would say, even. Now, the barrier itself we can leave for later, but this... I think the proportions are a bit wacky. Not yet sure what I'll do with that, but I think we are heading towards greatness. And remember, the goal of this is to make it lineless. So this is just the first part. The second part would be to actually turn this into turn this sketch into some sort of painting. But for that, I think making a sketch would be the first step, kind of reasonably. Okay, let's do this. So now we've got a sketch, which I think we can give another iteration to. And if we give it another iteration, we could start adding things like maybe some clothing. So for example, he could have a bit of a jacket, something on him. You know, just a thought. Not yet decided what I'll dress him up in, but you know, if we wanted to make Scout TF2, we would give him the Scout TF2 hat. You know, the listening device, which is probably in Scout's other ear, if I had to guess, but you know, we can give him that. He's got like these. He's got like a t-shirt essentially, then pants with a belt, fairly certain, and then he's got bandages wrapped around his arms. But he certainly doesn't have these thick arms that I've drawn, so if we were to make it Scout TF2, and I've not yet decided, but I kind of seem to be going this way, we'll probably give him slightly, and by slightly I mean a lot, thinner arms. So hands, somewhat difficult. This hand has absolutely been massacred, but that's okay. We can do it again. Now, is this hand actually... No, it makes no sense. How would his hand be? Would be the back of his hand. Let me mirror this, because I actually am looking at my right arm, and this is his left arm. But I have to do the perspective switch as well. So away from him, and the thumb would be probably towards the bottom with the fingers slightly curled. So if I'm looking toward the bottom with fingers slightly curled in that direction, would be looking something like this. And that is in fact a way better sketch for that hand than what I had initially. So we'll keep it an iterate on it until it turns into something that is more usable. So then he's got what? He's got his dog tags, I recall. So just add dog tags. Certainly has a head. Very thin neck. I think the head needs a bit of upscaling, and also the neck shape doesn't work. It's something like this. I'm not convinced this is like perfection. And he's got these pants, and now these pants kind of go into his socks, if I recall correctly. And he's got socks like these, and then the shoes, which are of course the bane of my existence. Maybe, and this is a wild guess and might be inaccurate, but this might perhaps potentially be due to me not practicing drawing shoes or feet at all. Might be related to this fact. Just saying. After a long time of careful consideration, this is what the conclusion I could establish that is the closest to what I think the truth is. I know it's a very, very difficult to understand idea, as you wouldn't necessarily think that, but that is exactly how I think it is. I think if I don't practice stuff, I'm not good at it. This is terrible news for all the people who never want to do anything. Unfortunately, at least for me, if I didn't want to do anything, that would be terrible news. But I like doing things, so it isn't a bad thing. One of these feet is not like the other. That is a problem. Like this one is massive, and then this one is tiny. And in like a weird kind of polygonal shape that doesn't really work at all. He's got like these two stripes, if I recall correctly, two white stripes on his otherwise, you know, dark grey / black shoes. Oh no, don't do that. Okay, let's try attempt 2 at this. How do shoes work? If anybody has experience of shoes, well, if it was possible for you to transfer that experience of shoes to me, I'd appreciate it a lot, but I don't think it is. So I'm gonna have to figure something out for now before they invent shoe knowledge transfer technology to establish that link and, you know, give me some knowledge I never earned. That is a long leg if I went through with that, but this is getting somewhere because this is looking better than the previous idea. Yeah, it did turn into Scout TF2 kind of, but you know what, at least it gives me some kind of framework to work with for the clothing while I desperately try to figure out the real idea in my head at the same time as I'm doing something else which I have established means the results are going to be pretty terrible. We could give him a little hand gesture, you know, it could be using his 2 fingers to do that with the rest kind of collapsed. You see, I'm introducing thick lines again. Can't help it. I'm just I am just addicted to thick lines, I suppose. Okay, well, anyway. Now that I've gotten an exciting pose drawn, which is absolutely a challenge, part of the challenge, we could try and turn this sketch into a painting of this guy. So where's the sun gonna be coming through? I guess we could try and start with establishing maybe a basic color palette. We could also start with establishing where the sun is, or we could start with randomly placing colors on the canvas and seeing what sticks. Ain't that a good idea? No, it's not. Probably some people would establish like a color palette or something. We could have a strong light kind of coming from this direction, creating like a highlight on these edges, with shadows mostly being cast like on this side, which would place most of this guy in shadow. But it could also make for something, for a pretty interesting shot. But I'd have to get the colors just right so it looks good, which is a difficult task to accomplish. So maybe what I'll actually start with is I'll try and figure out some combination of colors that's gonna look decent when put together. The idea is to have basically a darkish, not a very desaturated darkish orange. Maybe actually desaturated is the wrong choice. Maybe it should be more saturated. The idea is to have like a dawn kind of effect and then have the shade be probably blue, or maybe even like fading into purple for for the colors on the other side. So then we could start with maybe this basic palette. So imagine this is a ball and not the circle I drew. So it would be kind of highlighting it like this, right? Highlighting the sphere like this, and then the opposite would be kind of darkened. And then this in the middle would be the... This kind of looks cool. Like a sphere. Man, I am way too tired to be speaking English, apparently. Spare. Or whatever I said. Anyway. That's like the basic idea, but then we could also throw on some additional like color changes. So like if something was supposed to be red, maybe we could saturate it a bunch. Like what color would I use to represent red? Maybe brown in this. Because shifted towards from red towards that. This is probably a bit too saturated, but if we desaturate that, I think this could be like the version of red for this lighting. And then in shade, we would actually have the red slide towards darker colors. So this would be the equivalent of the red on the shaded side. So if you, once again, take this and maybe toggle, maybe lock the alpha on it. This is kind of what we would end up with. Right, that's the idea. You have the kind of middle, you have the back where the light reaches the least. And then you have maybe a red variation, like half, let's make half the sphere be of the red variation, and then you have the red dark variation. Do I understand that well? I think it's starting to look like a basketball kind of. What would be the highlighted red color there? Probably shifted towards here and maybe a bit more saturated. Yeah, this is too saturated, I think, and slightly too orangey, but if we fiddle with it a bit, we've got like a basic color palette for dark, and so we've got cool colors on one side, we've got a warmer palette on the other, and we can maybe try and actually I'm gonna keep that. We can try and maybe use some of those as a reference. So perhaps the first step would be to... Where's the rough brush? Okay, this is the pixel rough brush, which is very complicated. It's a lot of squares actually. It's not complicated at all. So with that, let's try and establish the shape of this dude using the base color. And then maybe we'll introduce basic shading and lighting, and then from there we could take the shape we have, the shading and lighting, and then introduce color variations. I might have to drop this partway through the process, but we'll see. We'll see. For now, we are gonna keep going. Just keep going. Just keep swimming. You know, details like the exact way the clothing is folding, we can figure out later. For now, I'd like to mostly establish what is what color. Like, for example, this is gonna be like white, so it's gonna have... It's gonna be lit, probably is gonna be lighter than this base shade I have going. And then the dark is gonna be darker than the base shade I'm going with. It's like, but the idea for this is to establish the base, and then onto the base add further modifications. So just modify it from the base, kind of modify it, adding or decreasing saturation, shifting the colors around a bunch, stuff like that, all to achieve a bit more. A better result is the final idea, like what I'm actually striving for. But this is also learning, so I don't come here with like a predefined understanding I'm trying to like do. I'm trying to learn as I go live, slightly talk about it as well, as much as I can do so, while also drawing at the same time, which I've already talked about before. It's a great replacement topic for whenever my mind goes idle. Apparently that's what it goes back to. Keeps on talking about how I don't do two things at once very well. Which, while true, might get boring for people who would watch it a couple times. Probably not a good idea for that reason. But if you are watching it again, then I guess yeah, that about sums up the mental state I am in, which, if I had to express it in one word, would be tired. Thankfully, we are beginning the weekend, and with the beginning of the weekend comes exciting, wacky times such as sleeping, which I'm gonna probably have to succumb to very soon, or else I might risk falling asleep live on stream, which, as funny as that would be, I'd like to avoid, preferably. Okay. This, maybe try and do that. Okay, let's try and establish the places, the areas which would be darkened. So if the light is coming from the left, from behind the scout here, we could start by maybe figuring out an outline for the foreground elements like the leg. We are probably gonna have to introduce like tiers into this, because we're gonna be working with something behind something else. That is never too simple to play around with, but something like this, and shade the arm real quick. How does this look without the lines? It's got a bit of an outline. It's not stellar by any means. Oh, hello, Hunter. How was your drive last sometime? Can't remember. Drove like some crazy distance for the puny European mind, which cannot even comprehend such a thing as a mile. Does this make any sense for how I'd like to shade this? Not necessarily. Does this make any sense? Let's see. Not really, because there's gonna be light hitting like these fingers here. So, there's gonna be light, like slight rim light around this edge, which probably we could add later, but kind of trying to figure out how I do the shapes now. I don't know. I'm improvising as I go along. I've not really worked on stuff like this a whole lot, which is why I'm doing it, to learn. This arm needs work, certainly. We are gonna get back to it later. Now, is this good? Maybe. Huh? Okay. Does the belt need additional shading from this? No, because I'm establishing the base shape and base color. So then later we are gonna replace the purple with a different shade, which might mean that it would be a good idea if I decided to isolate the purple into a different layer. so I can later more easily use the same areas like established by the purple to paint with different shade colors. That's probably something I could learn from this for maybe the next step. I could isolate this because it's all I don't use anti-aliasing on the brushes I use, so I could probably very easily select this with like a magic wand tool and then have it be usable in that way. Maybe. That is something to definitely keep in mind. This would probably be more like this, I think, from the shape of that. And the bottom is gonna be normal color. It's just gonna be a dark normal color, so it's like gonna be close to black. But that doesn't mean that is the shade, and I'm currently trying to define where the shade and light are on this guy. Just, yeah. It is something like this. There's probably a slight bit of rim light on all the stuff. Even from the side that's not directly being lit, because strong light kind of has this tendency to create these light outlines around things. And these are usually pretty good for defining like edges of objects and stuff. Drive was lame, glad not to be. How am I? I am mostly tired. It's been a very intense week, but in a good way, because I'm doing very good stuff at work. I'm doing a major rebuild of a major re-engineering would be the better term for it. I'm basically taking something we had before and redesigning it so it basically is better in multiple ways. It's the kind of work I honestly just really like to do. You know, I really like creating systems, so things like that, you know, gets me going very easily, and I can get lost in it. So I kind of put other things aside and I've worked on that. And then it turns out when you do a lot of working on stuff like that, you get tired. Who would have thought? Certainly not me, because I do not think. Thinking has been left behind as I left work, and now I merely exist and try my hardest not to forget to breathe. Okay, how's this look without lines? Like something. Can I make it good? I guess we'll find out over the next steps of the process. This elbow is terribly disfigured. Mirror it. There's... Okay, we'll fix the elbow. We might be departing from the sketch already. So fix the elbow first. Then after I fix the elbow, I could fix the rest of the hand shape. Maybe fix other things as well. But you know what? I'm thinking this is coming along looking like something. Maybe I could use transparency, but for now I'm using those sharp. I'm using these very sharp colors to kind of build the base. I am so bad at talking and thinking at the same time, it's actually ridiculous. You know what? That's something that's nice about... there's a way to prevent this problem. It's actually it's very simple. You just don't do it. You first think, then you prepare a speech or maybe prepare a presentation. You collect your thoughts into something that you can easily convey to another person, and then you just use all that you've prepared to, well, present the concept to another person, and you avoid all of the problems with thinking and doing things at once. But the problem with that is that would require me to completely change the format of what I'm doing and this format, and I want to keep the format. So in short, I can't really be, I mean, I could stop talking when I'm thinking, but I think that is majorly awful. Probably. Like, people would get bored. And I don't have spare Subway Surfers gameplay to play in a little window over my stream. Which I could do, but honestly, if you require Subway Surfers gameplay on the bottom, maybe, perhaps, potentially find a different channel. You know, maybe, maybe don't. I don't. The worst part is I've seen like the videos of that, and seems like people actually do that. Like they do insert half the screen of the Subway Surfers gameplay, which I suppose for maximizing engagement kind of makes sense. Kinda. I wish it didn't though. Hello. Welcome to Alistrium. I am trying my hand at turning a sketch into something lineless, which is outside of my comfort zone because I usually work with thick lines, which you can even see on the thumbnail of the stream. You could even call the thumbnail of the stream kind of false advertising, but to be fair, I did not know I was gonna be doing this when I started, so... Are you an artist or an animator? I like how that question kind of implies animators are not artists. I'm just a dude with a stylus. That's what I'd say. Do I animate stuff? I probably could. I don't think I have the patience or time for that. It requires, and I'm not quite that good at keeping the form of what I'm drawing yet. At least to the level which I would find enough. So short answer, I draw things. I don't animate things really. Best I've done is like a 3D animation that I've posted on my Minds account at some point. Of like a rabbit, chibi rabbit running. That's about it for my animation adventures. Okay, so maybe try something like this. Maybe try and introduce some folds. Clothing has folds. What crazy idea. I realize. Okay, so this probably would have something like this to symbolize where the pants end and the sock begins. And then probably introduce a bit of... Oh, I just assumed because I saw a program with a bunch of layers and buttons and complicated stuff. Well, it's the software I'm using is called Critter. I think it does, yeah, it does have you can enable a mode that lets you do animation as well in it. But I'm using it for just normal drawing. And to be fair, I think a lot of drawing software is gonna have a more or less confusing mess to the layman in terms of user interface. I think that's kind of to be expected. Basically, any program that is kind of specialized for a certain kind of work ends up being, in a way, complicated. There's a modern day, there's a lot of trend which I very strongly dislike of trying to streamline and make those, you know, productivity applications and programs simpler. And I think most of that is usually accomplished at a what is the word? It decreases the value to people who are to power users essentially. So if I get good at using a software now, you know, you've reduced the number of buttons in the software from, you know, 15 to I completely lost completely lost my train of thought. I genuinely have no clue what I was just saying. Is this what having dementia feels like? Oh yeah, if you turn like 15 buttons on the UI into this nice expandable menu with an animation because it's now streamlined, well, now you've made everything that was one click has now become 2 clicks. And so you've essentially doubled the time it takes, doubled the actions it takes to do things. In short, you know, your desktop application for professionals doesn't have to be a mobile app, is what I'm trying to say. Are you Swedish? You sound like a manly PewDiePie. I am not Swedish. In fact, I am Lepoland. But with a caveat of having a weird accent. System reengineering stuff is rough. Well, depends. I love it. I do like re-engineering, especially the older stuff, which is usually after a while it gets a pain to work with. At least, definitely my own older stuff is a pain to work with because, well, I've been learning a lot for the past couple years, so getting to use all of the knowledge I've accumulated over time to actually enact, you know, changes to the software I'm working on that makes it better, easier to work with, and you know, gives it a bunch of improvements. I'm very happy about that. One thing I'll do to this drawing in a hot second is I'm gonna turn the background from being pure white to being like a mid-tone grey, so that I can better see the actual highlights I'm adding. Because turns out white kind of biases the basically any background. Here's another tangent for you. Any background you do for whatever you are doing is going to bias the way you perceive other colors. I don't know if you're familiar with those images. There are images where it's like, oh look, here's 2 squares. Can you believe that they are the same color? And the basic trick these do is imagine it like this. I'm gonna quickly add a new layer for this tangent. So imagine this. You've got a dark color here, you've got a light color here, and then we pick a mid-tone gray, and we present the mid-tone gray on the 2 colors here. I think in the experiment, in the original experiment, it's like a checkerboard, so this is not gonna work quite as well on this. Yeah, no, it's not. The original image has like a checkerboard with some object casting a shadow onto like a light part. The basic idea is there's a checkerboard in light and in shadow, and then the gray, I think the gray of the shadowed white is the same as the unshadowed black or something like that, but you don't see it as the same color because of the context around it. So if I change the background, it's going to change how you perceive the colors on the canvas, which is, fun fact, and this is something I've learned through interacting with people who are smarter about this than I am. In fact, you would usually want your graphic design software, or really any software you interact with colors in, to have neutral grays as the UI color. So if I screenshot a bit of this, I don't know if I can pick it the color any other way, and sample this color and go to specific color selector, you can see that the red, green, and the blue are the same value, which means it's a shade of gray. So it's not tinted towards any particular color. But what some modern user interfaces do is they color the black or the white slightly. They give it a bit of a tint. So like they use a slightly saturated like purple for the black. This results in something that might look a bit richer than just, you know, flat black or dark. This depends a lot on your monitor as well. But what this does is if you have the entire UI be, for example, a slightly bluish tint, it could bias the way you perceive colors on the image you are working on. So you would maybe make them slightly more warm, slightly cooler colored, because the contrast between the cool colors of the environment and the warm colors is going to be greater, you know, than if it was neutral. I'm gonna play Friv, which I assume is like Final Fantasy something, maybe. I should be sure to come back now and then to see how much you have done on this guy. We'll see. I have no idea how this will turn out, so this is a complete experiment. Have fun playing a game. You know, have a wonderful time. Good luck. Whatever you need for that. I'm gonna continue I'm gonna get back off the tangent I've started and then continue drawing this. So to get back, I've used a pretty blue color for most of this. So let's whip out the good old paint bucket and try and... Is this a good idea for that? So it's not really, because the highlight should, I feel, be a bit more on the brighter and more warmer side, because this is still, like, I have to remember this is still the highlight, it's not the shadow. So I've probably picked a shade color for the original image. Has a warp checkerboard. I'm not sure if we are talking about the same original image, because there's you're probably a bunch behind judging from that. I might pull it up on the screen in a hot second. Let me just see if this is better when I fill those colors with a warm color. I think this is better. Just hit it all with the paint bucket. Yeah, I'm thinking this is the correct change, but the light might need to be a bit more intense. You know what? We'll figure it out. I'll try and pull up the... I still have your voice in the background. Oh, alright. I gotcha. Checkerboard, the same color illusion. Surely if I search a query like that into... Yep. Comes up. Yeah, it's kind of like I described it. It's like it's this image. So you have A and B, and if you kind of draw a line on this image, you can see that they are the same color, right? If you like use the same color, right, you can kind of break the illusion. But then you can have this one appear darker. Yeah, that's the context, right? Because this one in context appears darker because it's a dark field, and then this one appears lighter because it's a light field. You know, despite them actually being the same color. That's the illusion I was talking about. I don't know if that's the warp checkerboard you had in mind. If it is not, then I don't really know what you're talking about. So if you could post a link or something, I could pull it up. Listening at 2x. Oh, you're catching up fast then. As in, every minute I talk, you are catching up on another minute. So if I just keep this up for enough time, we're gonna be all caught up and we're gonna be fine. Okay, let's try this as the... It's actually pretty cold as a highlight. So, does this work like I think it does? As in, should I be making the lighter colors less warm and the darker more warm, or should it be the opposite? I think it should be the opposite. I think the darker colors should be... so this should be more saturated towards warm, because because it is a light color, and then it would pain. I can't do two things at once. Anyway. Oh man. So the light color should theoretically be absorbing more light, therefore more warmer color, question mark, parentheses. Perhaps. Not sure about that, but we'll try things out and figure out as we go along. Is the illusion done because they make the white stuff darker? The illusion happens because of the context. I think if you catch up to the example, you caught up to the example by now probably, so you already saw what it is. But if you didn't see it, the idea is that the context around makes your brain perceive something more than the actual color. Oh, you are caught up. So the illusion is kind of from the context of the checkerboard. Hold on, do I still have that in my clipboard? I do. The context being, so the context is the colors surrounding the color in question. So in this case, because this square is surrounded by darker squares, your brain interprets it as a light square. And then in this case, the square is surrounded by light squares, so your brain interprets it as a dark square. And despite them being the exact same color, you know, when you draw a squibble, you can see that it is the exact same color. Your brain kind of thinks otherwise. Why? Because our brain is stupid. That's why. Humans exposed for being dumb. Anyway, I'm very sorry for insulting all of humanity like that. I'm going to, I don't know. Can I pay reparations to all of humanity? That's probably not possible. Oh, wait. Is it? Cue some kind of investigative music and then put this in a video titled like, How I Paid $50 million to Every Human on Earth. Not clickbait, real. Definitely happened. Okay. I am blatantly just ripping out Scout from TF2. The brain isn't stupid. I know, that's a joke. But yeah, the brain is not stupid. The brain uses context to determine reality. Well, it's... You could argue it makes more sense to interpret the colors, you know... It makes sense because our brain interprets the colors in... Our brain seeks patterns, right? And the pattern is there's dark fields and there's light fields. So our brain kind of conveys that pattern like, oh, this is a dark field, therefore it is dark, right? And you could even say that is more beneficial because, well, you can tell if you didn't have this context, this contextual kind of view on things, you would not see a checkerboard there. Like, you wouldn't be able to probably even identify your mum is a dark field. Okay, now you've officially carried it too far, buddy. So if your brain didn't identify the pattern, you'd probably not even be able to tell that there is a checkerboard, and instead it would be like a collection of colors in square shapes, but it would like fall apart. You need the understanding of the pattern to identify it as a checkerboard in the first place. If that makes any sense. Okay. I think this shoe has kind of gained a 3D-ish shape to it that looks vaguely correct, which is the furthest I'm willing to call it so far. We could absolutely use this to highlight the side of the sock and then realize that the highlight kind of conflicts with the color, the rest of the sock being colored in a lighter color than the highlight, which makes a mockery of the entire concept of a highlight. Let's try this. Yep, I'm thinking this color is way better for what I'm trying to accomplish. It actually looks like a correct shade. But we also create low-resolution versions of images in our brain to save on brain computing power, which is why things like illusions work. Well, I think it's a matter of compressing things to patterns, because you compress things by adding abstraction. So, for example, if you have a long string of numbers, so if you have, or maybe if you have a lot of words, right, and then let's say in the English language there appears a bunch of times, that's 3 characters. But let's say I decide, instead of typing the or there every time, I just type I don't know, a $sign, right? So what I've done is I've effectively shortened every occurrence of there by 2 characters, because I've coded it as a $sign, which is just 1 character. But I now need more abstraction, because I need to convert the data point from the original to the coded version, and from the coded version back to the original. So I've compressed it, but at the cost of processing power. $signs? Hacking programmers. What? Okay. Honest question. What would I call that symbol? On it, I genuinely have no clue if it has another name. So if you do enlighten me on that, I'd be very grateful and probably never forget it. Maybe. Parentheses not guaranteed by the contract. But I would be curious to learn what it is. If it is called by a different name, I'm curious to learn what it is. Are you gonna be mad about me calling the quotation mark a double quote? Maybe. I'm not correcting your term usage. I was making of the fact you chose a $sign. Well, listen. I couldn't. $sign is actually probably a bad choice. A better choice would be the @ symbol, for example. Because the @ symbol, if you are compressing something like a book, it's probably more likely for you to mention dollars in a book than it is for you to mention an @ symbol. Or maybe then something more. I'm trying to keep, for some reason, I am trying to keep within the ASCII table, which is, it's point being, I think I've made my point. I don't. The problem is autism. Excessive autism leads to things like this. Nerd, absolutely. I cannot possibly fight that accusation because it is true. I just have to. I usually have to stop myself, but this is the internet, and on here, if anybody's disinterested, they can click off, but they cannot stop me from talking, unless they are YouTube, in which case they still cannot stop me from talking because I can talk offline. Huh? Or I could, point being, before I drive that point into the ground, point is talking. I like it, and that's why I'm on the internet talking. Which is probably an award-worthy sentence, I think. Whatever literary awards are available, please sign me up for all of them, because I think I will win in a landslide. Give that vote to any audience, and they'll choose what's best for them. To some small degree, I watch you because I drive points to the ground. Well, if you are here for autism, I will never say a word again just to spike you. That's right. Man. You know what? There's no pressure here. If you like it, I'm glad, and I will continue to drive points into the ground for everyone's amusement. The problem is, usually when I'm actually focusing mostly on what I'm saying, I think I can manage a better score in terms of, you know, keeping being a massive nerd in check. Often also when I'm talking with someone IRL, I can tell, oh, this guy is absolutely bored to death by, or just has lost track of the point 10 miles ago, so I should probably quit doing that. But on the internet, there's no feedback aside from people calling me a nerd in chat, which I can absolutely just disregard and continue to be a nerd. So the point is, the internet causes the worst behavior in all of humanity to come out, and so, you know, something the internet was a mistake, but since we already have it, why not enjoy it while it lasts? Do you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ? I think I am in the process of understanding what that even means on a personal level. Like I've been religious my whole life basically, but I feel like I'm only recently actually starting to understand what it all means. So it's a bit of a weird time period, you know, to it's way different when you are an adult. Hello back. We have apparently tangented over to religion slightly. But good news. Look, this guy is starting to take some amount of shape, and I think the color choices I've started making are looking kind of decent. That's a difference. Religious tangent, my fault. You seem to be doing that, but that's not a massive problem. I feel like I'm not quite at the. You know what? All of this stuff is interesting. I usually find it a bit weird when people, weird or maybe even slightly annoying, when people completely dismiss like anything spiritual on the basis that it is spiritual. It's like, even if you have a complete disbelief in anything supernatural, surely you could at least engage in the conversation from the point of view that it is some bit of human psychology at work. At the very least, you know? That would be... And then you can actually kind of have an interesting conversation, as opposed to lol, dad in the sky, lol on cloud. It's not a very sophisticated point. But it keeps being brought up all over the internet, which maybe, to be fair, is... Actually, it is on the internet because how often do you really have those topics even come out in polite, normal society these days? I guess it depends on the kind of what's it called, environment you are in, maybe. I think I've kind of fixed both the geometric feet. Like this guy's become way less geometric. This was shaded on purpose because, you know how objects block light? Shocking, I know, but the idea is this is actually supposed to be a solid object and not a transparent wireframe in the final picture, which I think I am not doing the best of jobs at remembering, apparently. Oh, right. Something like this would be an interesting idea. This is very unsubtle. And also, I think a belt and the thing the belt goes through, which I do not know the word for, these two things are not the same object. This is a controversial statement, but I am prepared to defend it with all my rhetorical ability. Yeah, this looks better. And then we can even give it a bit of a highlight and make it look absolutely belt loop. That's kind of anticlimactic even. Belt loop. Wow, what a complicated name. Is that the Scout? It turned out to be the Scout. because I couldn't come up with an original idea for clothing, so I started drawing the scout. Because how long can I really take just looking at the picture doing this and saying absolute nonsense over and over again before people notice this is not actually entertaining? So I had to pick something, and I've decided to pick the scout. Why? Because he jumps and runs fast. That's it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Nice drawing, Bisht. I don't know. Could you translate that term for me so I know whether I should be offended or not? High lead. High lead? High lead? I've got no clue what that means. So, if you'd like to enlighten me on that as well, feel free to, because I do not understand. Okay, so if this is the equivalent of black, Scout's pants are like darkish brown, I think. Not yet decided what team I'm gonna put him on, but I suppose red is the default. Scout TF2. I'm fairly certain he's got like dark brown pants and blackish shoes. Scout TF2. Yep, he's got his pants look like plastic, honestly. If you take a look at this high quality screenshot I'm pasting in, these look like plastic. Did they even have plastic back then? When scouts were roaming the earth? I've actually have no idea. I don't know. Surely they had. Actually, no. Surely they had plastic by then. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I think the health packs at the very least. No, they could easily be metal, not plastic. He's a blue scout. Why do you think he's a blue scout? Just because the shade is in the blue, in the blues, but the light regions are red. So how am I gonna resolve this very complex and complicated conflict? Is the problem. Actually made progression. Yeah, I've added some colors to it. I've started, as I said before, I've started with he's a blue scout because of exactly the illusion issue we talked about earlier. That's fair enough. Might turn him into a red scout later. We'll get to that problem when we get to his shirt. That's the idea. I actually did make some progress. I've gotten some colors on him, so now I'm slightly. It's turning from I got back on my train of thought. So the idea I was going with was to start with one shade for all of it, and then kind of derive other colors from the basic shade that I picked. So I picked like this highlight color, and I picked the shade color. Now I'm trying to pick other colors to represent shades, so they fit with the base colors I've picked. So I'm trying, for example, I've picked this shade on the shoe to represent black elements, this kind of shade, brownish shade, to represent white elements, and now I'm trying to pick a color for the pants, which I think I've just about nailed with this change. So now I'm gonna fill in the region. There's a highlight on the shoes, not shoes, the pants, with this color. So kind of looks like he's got brown pants. And the next idea after that, after I fill all the highlights with the appropriate colors, would be to add detail to the shaded areas and see how that looks. So the secret that you should never talk to anyone about is that I am completely I am improvising this as I go along. I've not done this before. So I've kind of picked a thing I think might work, and then I'm testing. Have you seen the Tunnel to Summer, the Exit of Goodbyes movie? I've not. If you ask me if I've watched pretty much any movie, the answer is gonna be no. I am not. I'm not a cultured man in many regards. Movies is one of the regards in which I'm not cultured. But there's more. I've not watched many TV shows. I've not watched many insert thing here. I've read a bunch of books ages ago. But reading is for bigger nerds than me, because I am a computer nerd. And computer nerds don't read books. What are you, silly? I actually do not know accurate statistics on computer nerds, so how's this for like a little, you know, bandage setup? Because I think it looks way better than I thought initially it's gonna look. So I'm just gonna quickly slightly copy it over to the other side. You know, maybe introduce something like this, and then I'll have to pick a shade. 100% recommend for that movie. Alright, well, Tunnel to Summer, The Exit of Goodbyes. If anyone likes films and is more better at watching films than I am, here's a recommendation from the chat. Take it, run with it, buy the movie, watch the movie, enjoy it, you know, take all your friends to see it immediately. Something like that. The other one doesn't look quite as good, but we are gonna leave it for now, I think. Anyway. Don't tell me what to do. Oh yeah, I'll tell you what to do. Or maybe not. I don't know. We'll figure out as we go along. As I am totally incapable of processing abstraction, I will tell you that. What do you mean tomorrow? I am not telling you what to do right now. You should make the obstacle that he's jumping over be one of the obstacles from Subway Surfers. Considering the dude looks like a parkour guy. You just compare TF2 to Subway Surfers, my man. That is next level. Do you even know what TF2 is? Oh, answer me, gentlemen. Do you even know what a TF2 is? Surely it's like embedded enough into the popular culture. It's Team Fortress. There you go. But it's wrong. I actually meant Titanfall 2. Haha. You've been trolled, and now you are gonna be sent to prison. I don't play though because I am not very old. Wow, way to throw shade at me. And oh man, are gonna make me feel old. Is that I have a friend who once did a TF2. He died. Condolences. I'm gonna press TF for him on the keyboard. We'll find out what those keyboard shortcuts do in Critter. So T apparently is transform, which is true. And F is bucket fill, which is actually kind of useful because I sometimes switch to bucket fill and I won't have to click the icon immediately. Manually, but I have no clue why I said immediately. Okay. Okay, the next difficult challenge for this is going to be figuring out a color for skin in this lighting. And also the guy that died from TF2, I bet that's a joke I'm not getting. And I'm going to get lambasted for it. Absolutely decimated. Play Minecraft sometimes, but that's about it. Not very knowledgeable when it comes to video games. You know what? That would be fair if it wasn't for the fact that as a massive nerd, I must scold you for not knowing everything about every video game ever. So if that's all right, please feel scolded. Do you know what TF2 is? You made it sound like a drug. Well, it kind of is, because you cannot quit that game. It is not physically possible to quit TF2. I'm afraid. Just no matter how many times you try it, you will keep coming back for some reason. There's just no other game quite like it. And I don't know how they made that happen. I only kind of have an idea. I have a buddy who did free marijuana. He died. Yeah, don't drugs, kids. Do not drugs. Do no drugs. Do not drugs. Drugs is gonna very marijuana you to death. Something like that. Sounds like a skill issue to me. Wow. Maybe. Maybe. Or maybe it is just I like this game and I don't actually want to quit. It's a fun game. And also fun characters. Skill issue indeed. It reminds me of the gambling quote. What was it? Like most gamblers quit just before they hit the big break. keep on it. Keep at it. Something like that. This guy's got a black belt apparently. So there's. I'm gonna reuse the color from the shoes. Black belt in what? Black belt. Just black belt. No additional information attached to this post. Alright, this is looking decent, I'd say. Ooh, we could do this, slightly cut it, and have it look like he is actually casting shadow on himself, which makes... If you are looking for a game to play, I suggest go outside. Very beneficial if you don't live in Antarctica. Well, how dare you say I live in Antarctica? Well, there was a joke there. Just imagine I didn't forget what it was halfway through and then stumble on my words as well at the same time. Just pretend I did it well, and it was very funny. Probably the funniest joke you've ever heard. I don't know why I said that. Antarctica is just something we think about from time to time. It happens to humans. Man, I am getting worse at English with every passing minute, I swear. And being tired and doing two things at once is doing absolutely magnificent things to my brain. Antarctica. That's just a myth. Yeah, Wait, isn't that where they keep the big ice wall that doesn't allow us to fall from the flat Earth? I think there's something like that somewhere. I've heard from a good trusted source on the YouTubes or somewhere. Chubby fingers. I am fixing that, thank you very much. I realize it's a problem. It's gonna get better. We're gonna give him finger reduction surgery. These are way less chubby now. The thumb is very chubby still. We can trim the thumb. Don't look. Alright. Isn't too bad, I'd say. Now I am kind of putting off the next step, because one of the next steps is going to definitely be to give him a team color, and I've not yet decided which team I'm gonna put him on. So the options are red and blue. So if you would like to place an order on which team I should place him on, here's your last chance before I color him on one color and forget about that. Go fast. Could maybe do it all the way next to the lid of the hat, whatever the hell that's called. I don't know if it's actually is it called lid? What is it called? The thing that blocks the sun on your baseball cap or whatever you call it. This one is no. This I guess he does have a baseball cap. It would make sense. As we all know, Scout is a baseball enthusiast. I guess calling drawing surgery on your drawing makes it sound more productive. Well, listen, in terms of spinning whatever I'm doing as productive, I can certainly come up with a bunch of even better terms to describe something absolutely useless to sound like something very, very important. That's called a brim. Makes sense. And lid is slang for hat. Okay, so I'm gonna put my lid on, you could say, if you are gonna acquire your head covering and place it upon the top of your cranium. Something like that. Okay. What is this, of all things? That was better before. I'll be honest, I made it worse. Okay, then drop those to be dark. Okay, so if there's no team to be assigned for this guy, I'm gonna put him on red. If that's all right with you. No refunds because you paid nothing. Why does the eraser look so happy? It's just bouncing around. I mean, the little outline. I have a mental illness. Fair enough. There's one explanation for why the eraser is so happy. And you've actually been trolled again because there's not even an eraser. There's actually just the brush, but I don't even think Critter has a dedicated eraser. Fairly certain. Critter only has this little toggle up here, and what it does is it turns your brush from adding color to removing, from adding transparency to removing transparency. I am slurring my words very badly, but I think the point got across. Is you change your current brush to be the opposite. A mad demand refund. Well, what now? Do I refund him to blue? Just quickly convert his color to the blue and pretend that never happened. Ooh, I kind of like this. I think I'm gonna stick with this blue. I think it fits really well with the color. So congratulations, your refund has been processed and returned in the form of turning the scout blue. If you are mad now, I will not refund it because I like this color already. So get screwed is what I'm gonna very politely say. How about why are everyone normies? This is a fantastic question and one that I ask myself all the time when I am around regular people. Why can you not be a massive turbo nerd like me? I feel excluded. And I demand reparations as per usual. Okay, let's pick a color for the shade. Skin but shaded. Is this a good color for skin but shaded? I kind of think yes. I'm thinking this even looks pretty darn great. As, of course, a completely unbiased observer of... No, that colors the entire scout with this color, which is too much. We don't want to... But this one we can cover with the bucket. And this one. Yeah, I'm thinking this looks pretty cool. And then I quickly hop over here, and if I establish a line like this, I can block the bucket from spreading. See, I used the F I just learned. Oh, hello, Yates. Welcome to the one-man stream, which I'm currently doing, because you didn't show up. Did not even respond to my message. SMH my head. You know, something like that. But good news. I've been practicing shading a bit. So I'm practicing shading a bit. So maybe this kind of style is what I'm gonna do for the city painting. I don't yet know. I've not yet figured that out, but I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm in Le Canada right now. Le Canada being French Canada, I presume. Makes sense. Le Canada. Open YouTube by chance, remember that this exists. Well, at least I showed up in your recommended feed. That means I am pleasing the algorithm somehow. Or maybe that means you just watch videos from my channel and are subscribed. SMH my head. Have you never heard that being used to just... I've originally learned that people really do mispronounce, like, really do say things like SMH my head unironically, and I've started saying it ironically, and then it just stuck. And ever from time to time, you know, you just run into someone who's not been in on the meme, and then you get a funny reaction. That's like ATM machine, exactly. What's the big problem with going to the automatic something machine? Send me an SMS message. Actually, SMS message makes sense. Never mind. I've trolled myself. SMS message kind of makes sense. Because the name of the system contains message, but it's like in two different contexts, so I'll allow it. But for anything else, maybe it's a bad idea. There are more of those, certainly. But I don't have any at the forefront of my mind, so you know, this guy has a very fat face, by the way. I've just noticed this man's face is unacceptably fat. We have to give him surgery as well on his face. This is already better, but this chin is razor sharp, which it probably should, you know. Normal people trim beards, I trim chins. Having an issue with a bit of a butterface, I am going to solve this with, you know, using just a bit of razor, eraser and an eraser. And you can decide, depending on if you are a drawing or a person, I'll use one or the other. I come prepared for all possibilities. Boop. Alright. I think it's probably about time to plunge into the rest of the shading on this. So like picking some colors for the dark shade, for the light shade, pants shade, and then also the something else. Imagine there was another thing on the list and I didn't actually run out of things as I was saying them. I told you the scout was blue. I've turned him blue, but it makes sense because the shade actually fits perfectly for the blue. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you. You've suggested it well. I think you might be behind again, kind of. Or maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay, let's try this too saturated and too dark because I'm kind of going... These colors I'm using are kind of like pastel-y, so don't want to accidentally overdo any of that. This shade looks pretty good. And no, behind just late comment, fair enough. Where are his pants? Where do his pants end? Multitasking. Wow, look at this man flexing his ability to multitask on someone who is not allowed to do so. This is probably the most rude thing I have experienced all day, and I once again demand reparations immediately. Is this joke gonna stop being funny to me? I don't know. Maybe. His pants are in his dresser. Where do you keep yours? Well, okay. Have I accidentally used an Englishism instead of Americanism? Keep going with the reparations joke. Oh, I will. You will never pay out by the time I tally them all up. Okay, so is the idea that the Americans say trousers and the English say pants? Is that the big reveal about England language or like American language? Have I discovered the key to success? Dresser, armoire, is that French? Equals wardrobe. I am not. Wait a second. Okay, England says trousers, America says pants. In England, pants means boxers, underwear. Well, I am neither American nor English, so I am going to delight in the ability to confuse both sides of the equation at once. How about that? I think that is exactly what I should do. Just, look, I've even managed to invent two different shades, and by invent I mean I picked two different shades for the pants. I reserve the right to continue yelling at you then. Well, feel free to. I have absolutely no trouble with you yelling at me, no matter the loudness. Probably. Maybe. I'll probably regret that statement at one point or another in my life. Entirely possible. Okay, this... Not sure about the shape, but I need some way to... I basically need some way to distinguish the front layer and the back layer of the pants. And also need a way to keep this going, kind of. I don't want to lose detail by merging the colors. I actually want to kind of keep a certain level of detail to this, so... Also, I think I've been going for 2 hours and 7 minutes by now. That would explain why I'm getting so bad at English. Whichever flavor of English you prefer. Insert it into that sentence, and you should be good to go. Well, maybe introduce this on the belt, or rather on the pants shade. Bad at English equals skill issue. Well, certainly. I wouldn't dare suggest otherwise. But the secret trick up my sleeve is I've never claimed to be good at English. At least I don't think I have on the record. So I can now probably use that as an argument. Probably use that as an argument to prove just how humble I am. The quality I excel at the most is being humble. But I have also many other fantastic qualities about myself. Unfortunately, the ability to focus on two things at once is not one of them. You are Polish, your argument is invalid. Insert me falling apart into a billion pieces live on the stream here. I don't think there's any way in the universe, in the visible, interactable universe, I could use to deflect an argument of that magnitude. It's unfortunately my entire life has been countered and blocked, and I have no choice but to fade into obscurity now. Never to be seen again after taking such a devastating loss. This shoe looks wrong. The shape is bad. But not fully... I don't fully know what to do with that information yet. Yeah, this shoe is clearly balked. But don't know yet. Don't yet know why and how exactly. So boop 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 boop. I'm gonna pretend like I know what I'm doing while, you know, just changing random things until it feels right. I am well planted on the left side of the bell curve in this regard. I figured you would just want reparations. I don't know. I think I've been I've been decimated beyond reparations. Like, reparations are not gonna cut it. We're gonna have reparations 2, the sequel. Give me we're gonna have, you know, something bigger than the first one, just to convey just how much of a problem that was. I am so offended, it is beyond your comprehension. You Adidas kid. This is, I'm fairly certain Adidas has 3 stripes, you know. As a Slav, I have to know these things. It comes up on the Slav exam every year. I have to be prepared. It's like, well, how many stripes does Adidas have? You know, the answer is always 3, but they sometimes throw a curveball at you and they ask you to add 1 to the number of stripes Adidas has, and then you have to be very careful because the answer then is 4, which is you have to keep it in mind and not be blinded by the Adidas. I don't think, actually, let's find something out. Scout TF2 age. What's the age of Scout TF2? Do we have a, actually, do I have a year of birth? Ages. Scout 27. Actually, TF2 Scout age is 27. TF2 set in, yeah, which year is TF2 set in? Let's find out. What year is TF2 set in? 1960s. 40 years before today. But today in 2007 is actually, what, 15 years ago? Okay, well, anyway, 1960s. Let's get that as the basics. So 1960, the Scout's 27. So the Scout would have been born somewhere around 1930 something. So let's find out Adidas year of origin. I do not know how to type that into any kind of search engine. Adidas AG, founded on July 1924. So Adidas was founded before Scout was born, probably. So it is entirely reasonable for Scout to be wearing Adidas. Or maybe I've missed, was it 1860s or was it 1960s? I hope it was 1960s. No, it surely was. Anyway, it's midnight 13. You can't possibly tell me I'm bad at math at midnight 13. Okay, anyway, what was I doing? I was shading a Scout before I went on a tangent. And what a disaster that was. Midnight 13. What? Your English is okay. How do I say? Do I have to say 13 past midnight for it to count as English? Do I have to be that explicit? Is it required of me legally by the English Council? I don't know. No, 12:13. Which 12? There's two 12s. Wait, actually, no, hold on. Is it 0? No, it's 0. 0:13, not 12. 12 is in the afternoon. Not afternoon, it's noon. It's literally not afternoon. Well, 13 past noon would technically be afternoon, wouldn't it? I think it's not just my English that is declining rapidly. The general ability to have reasonable thoughts seems to also be going down the drain. Slightly. Do you say 11:13 a.m. every time? There's two of every number. There's more than... Wait, is there two of them? Listen, I was not born and I was not raised with the 12-hour clock system. So, whatever I know about that system, I've just picked up randomly on the internet. So, I do not know how you actually express time, aside from knowing that you can say like quarter past, half past, 3/4 past. Do you say quarter to? We are not really taught about quarter to, but I'd imagine that's a thing. Would imagine that's a thing in English. Sounds like it would be convenient. 24-hour clock system. Yes, we indeed have the 24-hour clock system. So we would say in Poland, we would just say, you know... Actually, we would say like 13 past midnight, essentially. I thought I was being funny, but apparently being funny is not allowed on the internet. Watch out, the English police is here. They are about to take you away. Nowadays, most people don't say half past. Yeah, 12:15 feels easier to say than quarter past 12. No, and then you could give just military time, I think it's called. Is you call 24-hour clocks military. You're being funny in front of an autist. Listen. Does it still count if I'm also autistic? Let's have an autism fight. I'm sure we are gonna figure it out somehow. Half past and quarter past is the English thing. Americans say 12:15. Yep, makes sense. Well, so why say many words? Why say many words when few words do trick? To quote a meme I saw at some point. This is not dark enough. This should have at least the shade of the pants, but probably even darker. Yeah, this color's probably better. This is too brown, actually. Not even brown, but it's too brown. This is now too dark, but we are getting there. This is too light, but we are getting there. That's better. How's this color for this? Maybe. Alright, let's try and do this. So I'm trying to kind of get to the end of this in a timely fashion, because I'd like to depart to the land of dreams fairly soon. As you can see, I am having... The problem is I'm having difficulty forming sentences, and that slightly impedes talking. Which I know might come as a significant surprise to many viewers at home, but it really do be like that. I am sure I'm sure this is only funny to you if you are also tired and probably past bedtime. Okay, should I? Because maybe the better idea would be to not continue, not continue this now, but leave it for next time. Because I think Yace is gonna be in Canada for at least an additional week, so I'm gonna probably have one of those solo streams coming up next week as well. So I could just, you know, leave this in the state it is at. And I'm kind of regretting I didn't start a time lapse for this. But I might leave this in this state I have it at the moment, and then come back to it later. Yeah, next week also. This is official confirmation, and we're going to be doing another solo one, unless I die in the meantime, which is not impossible, but I would hope unlikely. Like, at least I'm not planning on it. I didn't. So if anyone did kill me before next week, it'd be highly rude to do so unannounced. And if anybody does announce it, I'll make sure to post about it as an announcement. It's like, hey, next week I'm gonna be dead. Please direct your complaints to the guy, and then I'm gonna specify the guy that contacted me about me dying next week. And you can take the issue up with him. Yeah, so about drawing points to the dragging. I can't. No, this has to end. We have to stop. I can't form a coherent thought or sentence. Autism equals time travel. Normies equals skill issue. I'm sure if I think about this statement tomorrow, it's gonna make a whole lot of sense. But currently I understand it. I understand nothing of it. There is also a possibility that you've typed it specifically for me to be confused. What am I even saying? Okay. Anyway, here's what I've gotten done in the past however much time. 2 hours 21 minutes for this. Was it worth it? Maybe. We'll see about. I'll see about this next week. It is saved on my hard drive, so there's plenty of work still on this to be done. I could maybe later expand into adding a background to it, because I might as well practice rendering objects as well, not just humans. Maybe then also give the objects different materials, stuff like that. Does it still look good when I flip it? I think it does. It looks alright. There's a problem here, I think, but bonk. Bonk jump scare for anyone unprepared for the sudden bonkage. Anyway, I'm just gonna do that because I saw it now, and I'd like to not forget about it. Anyway, I am going to find OBS in the big alt tab menu, which contains all of 6 options, which is very difficult for me to pass at this state of mind. And I'm going to ominously hover over the stop streaming button as I say my final goodbyes. And by final goodbyes, I mean see you next week. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, good night. Good night in advance. That's what I'm gonna say. Good night in